This is the Bruckell Nine, a 1930s car just added to BeamNG and update 0.34. So, let's see if the oldest and newest car in the game is a hunk of junk or a timeless classic. Starting off with the interior, it ranges from sparse, not even having a glove box, all the way to high-end, having a fancy Bruckell logo and shiny instruments with a wooden finish. Looking at the pedals, the brake and clutch are discs, while the throttle is way off to the right, which would make for a very non-ergonomic driving experience by our 21st century standards. Going to the back of the Roadster body style, there's an optional rumble seat, so rich people can pretend that they're not even in the same car as their driver. In terms of body styles, there are a total of 9 options, making this quite possibly the most versatile vehicle in the game. It's able to go from a farm truck to a vehicle used to transport dignitaries to a tool bootleggers use to escape the law. And with the hood folded up, you can see one of the many engine options, ranging from a 90-year-old engine making just 46 horsepower up to modern engine swaps making over 1200. There are also some very silly parts to this car, such as the googly eye headlights. And those have eyebrows that change whether the car has the lights off, on, or high beams, and they wobble around while you're driving. But if you get into a rough enough crash, they will turn into X's. Maybe this will get people driving a little more carefully when they learn that their car has a soul and they can die. Nah, this is BeamNG. We know that people are just going to smash the cars anyway. If you look at the back of the cars, the brake lights say stop on them, which is a great feature for a world where driving is new and people don't really know what all the lights mean. Unfortunately, it's such a tiny font that by the time you read it, you've already hit the back of the car and, well, it's a little too late by then, you know. And one final thing about this car is that there are Phillips head screws in it, which doesn't seem like a big deal at first, until I saw a Reddit user point out that they weren't invented until 1932. I did some more digging, and the first car manufacturer to use Phillips screws was Cadillac in 1937, meaning that since the 9 started production in 1932, having those screws would be impossible. Even more since the universe of BeamNG still doesn't care about safety things such as safety straps or anything like that, so I doubt they would have even had these screws by 1937. BeamNG, please fix. As for real cars that the 9 could be based off of, the best I was able to find were the Buicks of the 1930s, although I couldn't really place one as all of them online seem to have very different names with only very minor changes. So if anyone's an expert on cars of the 30s, please let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so now that we know a lot of fun facts about it, how does the 9 drive? Well, we'll take a look at the Deluxe Roadster variant, priced at $57,000 Beam bucks. For that price, you could get a Sunburst Sport RS, which is definitely faster. For that price, you get a whopping 78 horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of eventually. According to Bruckell, it will top out at 144 kilometers per hour, but we were able to get it up to 150, even though that involved going into the red line and making the car beg for mercy. It is able to get up to that high speed because it weighs just 1,210 kilograms, making it one of the lightest vehicles in the game. In terms of handling, well, it drives how it looks, having a very soft suspension and being very floaty, making it not that great around a track, but probably fairly comfortable for its passengers. And with the rumble seat in the back, those passengers get to look just as important as they feel, making this the perfect vehicle for politicians to ride around in during parades, or just getting up front and having a nice slow drive through the countryside. When you do get in the front seat, this car drives more like a truck than a modern car, being very cumbersome around the corners, and the differential is horrendous. If you try to get through a corner with even half throttle, it will send all the power to the outside wheel, making the tires squeal a whole lot without putting much power down. Meaning that if you want to actually power through the corner, you can only really use a fraction of those 78 forces. Something I did learn about driving this car is you can actually very easily do a Scandinavian flip, but it's a little hard to hold the drift with a said open differential. This is due to an insane amount of body roll shifting the car around, initiating the drift very easily. When it's going over the bumps, this car responds very poorly, becoming unsettled very easily after hitting bumps, causing the suspension wiggling and possibly even sending you into the nearest wall. So, once you hit that wall, there will be significant consequences to your long-term health, as this car was made before silly things such as safety were invented. This car doesn't even have seatbelts, meaning that if you were to hit, the occupants would just fly out of the car, which may actually be a little safer than being crushed in the cockpit of the car. In terms of head-on collisions, it fares even worse, getting destroyed after just a medium-speed crash. So let's put it in the hands of something that actually feels better after getting into a crash. Some say that it's afraid of the color yellow, and that scientists declared it the oldest living creature back in 1847. All we know is that it's called the Misty. Starting off, we have one of these starts of all time with that 14.8 seconds 0 to 60 while it's headed all the way down into turn 1. It's still heading down there. It's finally reached the braking zone, and let's see how the suspension handles it. Wow, that is very bumpy and the wheel is just squealing through there. Going into the washing machine section, we can probably see the Misty do this flat out because of how slow this thing is, but again, those tires are pretty tiny, so it may still have trouble doing it at this slow of a speed. Getting into the snake section, it's drifting the car. That is pretty dang impressive. And into the harder turn, there's a tree in the way. Into the harder turn again, it makes it through pretty alright. Again, nothing spectacular though because of how slow this car is. Let's see how it fares through the 190. Going in a very nice line through there, a little bit of a slide. Heading on out, even more wheel spin from that open differential. Heading over the bump into the back stretch. And let's see how it will handle the corkscrew. I'm guessing with that crazy suspension, it is going to have a bit of a rough time. Yeah, bouncing all over and onto the dirt a little bit. Yeah, I think that a washing machine might move a little bit less than any occupants in the vehicle there. Heading into the chicane at the end, let's see how it fares. Again, bouncy, and maybe we should just rename the washing machine section the Bruckell 9 section, because this is definitely a little more bumpy. Going to the finish and across the line. So we could all tell that that was not exactly, well, rapid. And this is by far the oldest car we've put around the circuit, so let's just put it up there. The Bruckell 9 did the circuit in 1 minute 53.5 seconds. Putting it 11.5 seconds behind the Grand Marshal, which is 60 years newer and makes 120 horsepower more, plus has much more advanced tires and suspension. So, what do I think about the Bruckell 9? Well, obviously I don't recommend it, as it has none of the modern amenities that we all take for granted, and it drives like a piece of crap. I do, however, think it is a beautiful piece of machinery and wonderful to look at, although I doubt you could find one in good condition at a reasonable price. And, it appears this one has caught fire after being parked on top of an oil refinery, so I guess it should not be bought by people prone to combustion either. On that bombshell, make sure to like and subscribe, and you can click the playlist down below to see my reviews of other BeamNG cars. Or you can see the video the magical YouTube algorithm thinks you can see. See y'all on the next one!